America's recently brought its age-old love of sports betting out of the shadows and onto our phones, and this has created an all-time mismatch, pitting man against machine. Gamblers, overwhelmingly young men, versus gambling companies armed with sophisticated AI, data, and engineering, enticing fans to make snap bets not just on games, but on every play within games. The early results? Billions for gambling companies, leagues, and state governments, and a growing population of sports bettors struggling to defend against the rush.
In 1998, gambling in America meant casinos, racetracks, lotteries, and the occasional trip to Atlantic City or Las Vegas. It was a physical vice, contained in space, regulated by state lines, and reinforced by human barriers. Then came the internet, and with it, a quiet revolution. Suddenly, the casino wasn't a destination. It was in your pocket. Online gambling didn't creep in. It exploded. And in doing so, it broke the way America views money, risk, regulation, and even morality itself. This is the story of how online gambling broke America. Gambling has always held a paradoxical space in society. Legal, yet moral. Regulated, yet corruptible. Entertainment, yet disaster. For decades, states legalized gambling carefully, contained it to casinos and racetracks, taxed it, and controlled it. The assumption was simple. By limiting access, you contain harm. But the internet shattered that model. Suddenly, anyone with a phone could place a bet anywhere, anytime. No lines, no age checks, no oversight. The vices of flesh were digitized and amplified. Congress tried to draw lines. In 2006, the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act made it illegal for banks and payment processors to knowingly accept transactions tied to online gambling. States were still allowed to legalize gambling within their borders, but the law created ambiguity and pushed much of the industry offshore and underground. Despite those rules, enforcement was weak. The technology moved faster than policy. Illicit operators hid behind foreign servers. They used offshore payment processors, cryptocurrencies, and shell companies. And American consumers, seeking ease, thrill, and escape, followed them. By 2024, Americans wagered nearly $338 billion with illegal online gambling sites. That's more than the entire GDP of some nations. Online gambling didn't just grow, it exploded past control. Legal states pitched gambling as a controlled, safe, tax benefit model. It would generate revenue, create jobs, and shift gamblers from shady sites to regulated platforms. But the promise always contained a flaw. Digital platforms scale infinitely. The same system that captures value can also accelerate harm. Companies discovered that what works in casinos, compulsion triggers, algorithmic nudges, reward loops, works even better online. There's no walkaway, no physical door, no closing time. They gamified risk, micro-bets, live odds, instant repeats. In the US, online sports betting handle soared to $114 billion in 2023. Across online casinos and sports combined, gross gaming revenue hit $16.9 billion, up 45% from just a few years earlier. But behind every dollar is a face. Someone addicted, someone chasing losses, someone losing. More than they can afford. Surveys show that 22% of Americans, and nearly half of men aged 18 to 49, have active online sports betting accounts. Over half admit to chasing losses. 1 in 5 said they lost money they couldn't afford. The promise of safe, regulated play became a veneer. Most new gamblers had no experience, no knowledge, no boundaries. The damage isn't spread equally. It hits hardest in low-income communities, among the unemployed, the vulnerable, the hopeful who see gambling as a shortcut to escape. Studies show that 3 to 4 years after online sports betting is legalized, bankruptcy rates rise by almost 30%. Debt collections climb, auto loan delinquencies increase. States that legalized online betting saw surges in personal financial distress. For gamblers, the losses don't end with money. Families fall apart. Mental health declines. Desperation grows. More Americans report gambling online every day. Nearly 1 in 3 adults. That's tens of millions engaging in daily wagering. Meanwhile, public health infrastructure is nowhere near catching up. Only about 9% of online bettors ever seek help. Most struggle in silence. There's a subtle normalization taking hold. Sports broadcasts feature gambling ads. Social media influencers promote bets. The same culture that once warned against gambling now glamorizes it. When even the culture embraces risk, the threshold for harm lowers. State governments found a lucrative windfall. Legal sportsbooks come with tax rates and licensing fees. States like New Jersey and Michigan rake in hundreds of millions annually. But corruption of incentives comes fast. When a state depends on gambling revenue, there's pressure to expand access, reduce oversight, and look the other way. Some states relaxed problem gambling safeguards to maximize growth. Others allowed aggressive marketing tactics. Some even accepted that some losses are acceptable if tax revenues flow. International operators entering the US market brought playbooks hardened in looser jurisdictions. They leveraged promotions, VIP rewards, and data-driven targeting. And because regulation is fragmented, state by state, enforcement is inconsistent at best. In effect, states have monetized human vulnerability. For every legal gambling site, there are dozens more illegal ones. In the US, roughly 3/4 of online gambling is illegal. These sites operate offshore, dodge regulations, and prey on unprotected customers. They offer higher payouts, anonymity, and no accountability. The damage isn't just lost tax revenue, it's loss of control. When problems arise, customers have no recourse, no refund, no consumer protection. The regulated model was supposed to be the escape route from the shadows, but many users prefer the dark. Back in 2011, the US government tried to shut it down, seizing domains, indicting operators. Of sites like PokerStars and Full Tilt, they called it Black Friday for online poker. But it didn't stop anything. New sites appeared within weeks, operating under new names and new jurisdictions. Regulation has lagged behind technology ever since. The federal government can block payments, but it can't shut down offshore servers. And state enforcement is patchy, a few regulators policing a billion-dollar industry. Meanwhile, AI and behavioral targeting have supercharged gambling marketing. Platforms can now predict when you're vulnerable, when you've had a bad day, when you're most likely to chase losses, and push you to bet again. In the 1980s, gambling was still considered fringe. Today, it's mainstream. Sports broadcasts celebrate prop bets. Apps flash odds during halftime. Every game feels like a wager. Younger generations grow up seeing gambling as part of sports fandom. It's just part of the experience. Social media reinforces it. Wins are posted. Losses are memes. The moral language around gambling has been rewritten. We say, play responsibly, but we glorify the chase. The line between fun and financial ruin is getting blurry. At the heart of this crisis is a broken social contract. The deal was supposed to be clear. Gambling is allowed, but within limits, with education, oversight, and protection. But online gambling weakened every clause of that contract. Protection is minimal. Education is underfunded. Oversight is weak. When the product is your brain's reward system and the platform is always on, safe limits become illusions. Online gambling isn't a game of chance anymore. It's a system of extraction. It's a tax on the desperate, a digital siphon that pulls money from the many into the hands of a few corporations. By 2033, analysts project online casinos and sportsbooks in the US could generate $65 billion in annual revenue. That's not growth. That's a transfer of wealth from working-class America to Wall Street-backed betting conglomerates. The social cost is devastating. Neighborhoods hollow out. savings vanish. Money that could have gone to education, rent, or healthcare disappears into an algorithmic slot machine. But not everyone is giving in. Some states are fighting back with reforms, mandatory funding for addiction treatment, AD, restrictions, and self-exclusion lists. Others are demanding transparency on how gambling algorithms target users. Advocacy groups are calling for a national framework instead of a patchwork of state laws. Still, reform struggles against profit. Every safeguard threatens revenue, and every pause in expansion angers lobbyists. The next frontier is even darker. Gambling companies are experimenting with artificial intelligence to personalize addiction. Algorithms now track how fast you scroll, how long you pause before betting, how your losses affect your emotions. Soon, biometric sensors could detect stress and push comfort bets right when you're weakest, all under the name of personalization. If this continues, the line between player and product disappears entirely. Online gambling didn't break America in one single moment. It broke slowly, through convenience, complacency, and corporate greed. It crept into daily life through ads, apps, and influencer codes. It reshaped how we think about risk, reward, and even morality. It's not just about casinos anymore, it's about culture. Through smartphones, gambling has merged with entertainment, identity, and escape. It's no longer just a vice, it's infrastructure. If America is to recover, it needs to confront the truth. This isn't an industry that entertains. It's an industry that extracts. And it extracts from the same people it claims to serve. Because when the casino fits in your hand, and every tap feels like possibility, the house doesn't just win, it owns you.